Hey, Dethroners, welcome back to the Dethroning Your Inner Critic YouTube channel. I'm Joanna Kleinman, psychotherapist, empowerment coach, and CEO of the Dethroning Your Inner Critic coaching and consulting company. And if you're watching me on YouTube today, I'm actually recording this outside. So you may be able to hear the ocean. I'm about a block and a half from the ocean right now, and the sea is angry today, my friends. Today, I want to give you some very uncommon advice for creating your future, because your future self does not actually come from mapping out your path. It doesn't necessarily even come from knowing the next step to take. And many people believe that they have to know exactly what direction they're heading in before they can really create their future. So creating your future self actually comes from becoming the healthiest, the most healed, the happiest, the most present, the most confident version of yourself. It comes from intentionally owning all of the parts of yourself, not just your gifts and your strengths, but really owning your faults and flaws and finding acceptance and contentment for all of who you are, and not allowing yourself to be easily moved or swayed by either your success or your failure, which is a really uncommon way to think, right? To not be moved by our successes as well as our failures, right? We want to feel proud of ourselves for our successes, but we don't want our successes to feed our old inner critic addictions, that level of success now means something. It means that I'm finally good enough and I'm finally whole, because that's not what it means. And if we rely too much on our successes, it sets us up to have a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear, because if somehow something changes in our life, we lose our footing. So finding the courage to learn to be at peace by embracing all of the parts of your life that have led you to this moment right now. That's living in your true authentic self. When you can learn to really embrace those parts of yourself that you once needed to survive emotionally, okay? Being the people pleaser, the overachiever, the person who couldn't let anyone down, right? The need for everyone to see you as smart or accomplished or successful. That is a part of you that, although it is now bankrupt, it has served you well to get you here. So when you give yourself permission to be fully in your authentic self, okay, part of that is the willingness to embrace the incredible discomfort that comes with shedding those old parts of yourself and transforming those parts into the new version of yourself. Because living a life of consciousness is about learning to rest in the truth of who you are. And the interesting thing that happens when you do that is the right path forward actually reveals itself to you. You don't need to know exactly where you're headed. So now there are definitely going to be times in your life, even as you are creating your future self, where you're going to wonder, have I messed it all up? There are going to be times in your life, just like there have been times in the past, where, you just feel like you suck. You've made a major mistake. You feel a lot of regret. Maybe you're there right now. Maybe somebody that you love is going through that really low period in life where they're struggling. And it begs the question, how do you overcome failure, pain, regret, mistakes that you've made in your life? Okay. And here's the truth. Nothing that has happened up until right now has any bearing on who you're truly meant to be. Okay. So if you view your life as one long epic movie, right? So there are many different scenes in the movie. And sometimes when you're in the middle of a movie, you have no idea how it's going to end, right? And how are these characters going to come together? How is the conflict or the struggle going to finally resolve itself? Right? So you might be there. You might not know where all of this is leading you. And the key to continuing along that movie, finding your power, even when you feel powerless, tapping into the courage to keep your focus on right here, right now. And know that the vision that you're designing for yourself in your life is coming. And all there is to do is keep taking the next inspired action, especially if it's working on your internal life, to do the work on your internal life so that you make room and space for the next version of yourself to emerge. So you may be tired of feeling like you're being held back. Okay. You might be sick and tired of beating yourself up. You might be stuck in fear and doubt and not know what life has in store for you. And I want you to understand that that is your old inner critic self that's doing all the focusing on your past, whipping up all of those fears about the future. And she's not going to stop doing that because she believes that she's protecting you. If she just has you focused on all of the mistakes and the regrets, you won't repeat them. If you focus on all the fear and danger about what could possibly go wrong in the future, you'll be protected from pain. But in fact, that's the illusion. Okay. Now, in fact, you are separate from your inner critic self. She was formed when you were a small child. Okay. And who you really are, your authentic self, knows better. So let your inner critic self keep doing that because she's going to do it anyway. Okay. Let her keep engaging in her automatic habits of thinking. Just recognize it as soon as she starts speaking. Oh, there she is. Give her a name. There you are. Mine is worrying Wilhelmina. I go, hey, Wilhelmina, thanks for sharing. I know you're trying to protect me. I don't need your guidance anymore. Thank you for what you've done for me. Thank you for how far you've gotten me in this life. Okay. So I really want you to understand that that inner critic version of you is rooted in the instinctual belief that we're all separate and disconnected. So your inner critic does not have any connection with the universe or the divine or God, right? Or the energy that has actually led us to exactly where we are right now. I was just talking with a client yesterday and I asked him whether he feels the universe is guiding him. And he said, well, only when things are going well. And that's how we automatically think. But what if all of the parts of our life, every single scene in the movie is leading us to the next version of ourselves? What if the times where things aren't going as planned, the times where you can't see where you're heading, the times where you can't see how the movie is playing out, what if those times are just as important, if not more important, than the times when it is all working out? Because those are the times where we grow and transform the most. So trusting the universe is a critical, crucial part of designing your future and creating your future self. Understanding that we are all connected, that as human beings, we all grapple with the same inner fears, the same doubts, the same feelings of inadequacy. We have maybe different degrees of the same thing. And when we believe that we're separate and alone in our creation of our life, we are very susceptible to being offended by other people's judgments and clinging to our inner critic's need to be seen as valued and worthy by other people. And we get trapped in seeking to fill that deep void that we all in some way have. And we're trying to fill it by things outside of ourselves, by success or validation or being loved or making sure that everybody thinks positively of us. And I got to tell you guys, no one and nothing is coming to fill this void. It gets filled by ourselves from the inside. So what's led us to here so far is we've tried out different versions of ourselves, right? Maybe you've had a period of isolation or loneliness and feeling like you don't fit in anywhere. And what that's led you to is to discover that you really fit in with yourself. Maybe you've been the one who is super successful, and that led you to discovering that your success is not going to fill that void. Maybe you've been the people pleaser in your relationships, and now you're finding out that that leads you to feeling depleted and resentful. See, we have to go through that discomfort so that over time, what gets revealed to us is actually who we're not, right? That's the thing that creates the space for the next version of ourselves to emerge, to discover who we're not, because we finally see the truth of who we really are. And once we know our true authentic self, that's when we can trust the universe. We can know that the universe is actually for us. The universe loves us. The universe wants for us what we want. That we will always be given what we need, not necessarily what we want, but what we need to live out the movie that's really meant for us. That's very important to understand. Sometimes you've got to let go of what you want and trust that you're being given what you need. Okay. And by the way, it's not the movie that has been directed by our culture and about what we thought life was supposed to be. So I'm talking about the movie that's true to your authentic self, the one where you step into the work that you're here in this lifetime to do. That could be professionally guiding people in their transformation. It could be single-handedly healing generational trauma within your family, right? That we are all put on this earth in this lifetime for a very specific movie to unfold. And as scary as living out that movie can be, you're being called to step into it powerfully. That's why you're listening to this podcast episode right now. That's what you have willed this episode here to you now to receive this message, if this is a message for you. And you might not feel very confident about stepping into this new version of yourself. That's okay. You don't need to be confident. You can actually step into the calling while you take your fear and your doubt and your insecurity and your inadequacy right along with you for the ride. That's how your true power actually moves through you. That's how your authentic self flows through you with every step you take, walking the journey that you're called to walk on, that the universe has in store for you. Once you get on that path, that's when you're going to see all of the guidance and support and love start coming towards you. It might not happen overnight, but I promise you, if you keep going, it will show up. Because once you've stepped into that journey, now you start to see the whole movie. You understand how the things that you viewed in your past as bad and wrong and horrible life chapters, right? They suddenly start to feel like, oh, it's all part of the bigger picture. You start to see your most painful experiences as the most powerful spiritual guidance, leading you to the biggest life lessons that you needed to get you to be on the path that's meant for you. Even the parts of your life where you look back and you cringe because you acted in ways that were not really who you are. To have the ability to have self-compassion for that woman, to understand that you did the best that you could. As Maya Angelou says, when we know better, we do better. So we stop dragging our old selves with us into the next movie scene. We lovingly release that old version of ourselves, and she'll keep showing up. She'll keep showing up over and over and over again. We continue to lovingly release her, right? We release the feelings of shame or humiliation or jealousy or envy or guilt. We allow it all to dissolve. That's how we step into that new version of yourselves that's rooted in love instead of fear. Okay? When we're rooted in love instead of fear, we stop meeting other people's anger with anger because we're changing from the inside. We're unhooking from our inner critic, who is so easily wounded by other people's potential thoughts or judgments or opinions. We become so grounded and present to our own power, to our own light. But we can't see our own light if we aren't doing the necessary inner work to clearly see what keeps getting in the way of seeing that light. So now that I'm 53, I can see so many parts of my movie that led me right here, right now, to this next version of me. And some of those parts of the movie just happened in the last few months. See, there's no version of us that is the end of the movie. I actually believe that the movie continues after we die. My dad died this past September, just 10 months ago, and I believe his movie is still continuing. I feel his spirit guiding me all the time. Your future gets created from the work that you're doing now. That's all there is now. So are you making the time in your day to reflect on your automatic thoughts and beliefs that are continuing to drag with you into your life now? Because when you reflect on that inner critic you, right, you can really see how she's played a role in getting you to where you are now. And now you can look at how far you've actually already come, how many obstacles you've already overcome. But I'm going to tell you, what's gotten you here is not going to get you to the version of you in your life that you want to be living. Okay? Because your inner critic has probably created a lot of success so far, but there's been a cost in letting her guide you. You didn't know she was guiding you. So now is the time where you can actually embrace your inner critic. Tell her that you no longer need her to protect you from pain and shame and judgment and failure. You can thank her for getting you to this point. You can feel proud of yourself for how far you've come. And now you're going to take the guidance from the universe. You're going to take the guidance from your inner wisdom. You're going to take the guidance from your true, authentic self. And that's when you're going to see that the universe has really been guiding you this whole time so far. Now, remember, your inner critic is going to fight for her existence. It's always going to feel more normal and natural to keep looking at what isn't yet good enough and what's the next thing you believe you need to be fulfilled and happy and content. And if you keep allowing her to focus on the next thing that you think you need, you're never going to get there. Because where you are now in your life was once a place you wanted to be. Think about that for a minute. You now have a life that at one point was only a dream in your imagination, and now it's here. And to your inner critic, it's still not enough. So the magic sweet spot is reaching for what's next while allowing yourself now to feel so fulfilled and inspired and grateful for where you are, and unhooking yourself from your fear and doubt and inadequacy that your inner critic keeps whipping up. That's unlearning the inner critic habit of only looking at what's next. See, we have all these things that we all want to do and we all want to have, and that's great. We might get there. We might not. But we want to be so appreciative of where we've gotten so far that if we never get anywhere else, we feel the abundance right now. Because what the universe has given you so far right now, at some point in your life, you had no idea that the universe had this in store for you. So dwelling in your inner critic story, believing your inner critic story, buying into imposter syndrome, questioning yourself, that's you smearing your past all over your future. So when you start to feel that doubt, that worry, I want you to trust that the universe aligns with a different story. Don't allow your inner critic story to become your story, right? I love to think about how nature can teach us about the journey of our lives. So I was walking my dog yesterday, and I came across this gorgeous, huge caterpillar. It was bright green with these yellow and black stripes right on this leaf. So this caterpillar has no idea that he's about to become a butterfly. Right now, he's a caterpillar munching away on a leaf. He has no idea what's about to happen, right? He has no idea that he's going to go into this deep, dark cave, and he's going to fully dissolve in this chrysalis into this soupy, messy, disgusting goo. It's just going to happen to him, right? Out of nowhere. All of a sudden, it's going to start to happen, right? And he can panic and he can say, oh my God, my body's falling apart. My whole world is crumbling. What's happening to me? It's still going to happen. And then he has absolutely no idea that that soupy goo is going to allow him to fly with these magnificent, brightly colored wings, and he's going to be able to fly hundreds of feet in the air and see life through a whole different perspective. That's you. You're the caterpillar. You have no idea what's in store for you. You only think you do. I only think I do. There is an intentionality of our existence. Every part of our life works together, just like in nature. We have an intention to fulfill in this lifetime. So the question for you is, are you opening yourself up to discovering who you really are right now? Right? That question is ongoing. It gets revealed to us as we are becoming that happiest, healthiest, most healed, most present, most confident version of ourselves. So that means that we're consciously focusing now on what we need, not what we need in the future, but what do we need right now? And that includes making sure we're getting enough rest, making sure we're doing nothing every day. We've got a period of time where we're just sitting and doing nothing, not scrolling on our phone, right? Not talking on the phone, just doing nothing, making sure we're eating well, making sure we are honoring our mind, body, and spirit. So heeding the call from your authentic self is not easy, and it's not comfortable. It requires a lot of courage. You've trained a lot of people in your life to expect you to be who you've always been, okay? So once you start really stepping into and embracing the power of the next version of yourself, you're going to have to retrain other people to experience you from this new self. And so you're going to need to retrain them to change their expectations of you, right? If you used to be a people pleaser, you're going to need to disappoint people, and that's going to be very uncomfortable. And that's when it is most important to be able to stand in our own power and be in the face of somebody else's judgment and criticism and disappointment, because that's what's required of you when you're embodying that next version of you. You have to allow them to have their disappointment and judgment, and maybe even try to guilt or manipulate you into being who you used to be. And for you to powerfully stand in your own truth. You don't have to be resentful of their judgment. You can just know that you're evolving, and that can feel uncomfortable for other people, and that's about them. Okay? So it's not an easy transition. It's hard to take that leap because you've only known one way of being for so long, right? It's hard to step into a new form of strength. That's not something that comes easy to any of us. And it's not going to happen overnight. It is a very gradual shift. You are slowly, moment by moment by moment, developing a new relationship with yourself. So there's going to be a lot of setbacks. There are going to be times where you revert back to your old inner critic self. There are going to be times where you feel like you're stagnant, like you're not growing, like the universe has forsaken you, right? And that's when you have to trust the whole process, to trust that the universe is going to deliver all that you need along the whole journey that is your movie. So a woman in one of my Mastering Your Mind programs asked me last night, what about people who it seems like they're not being guided by the universe? She said, like people that are homeless. So what I'm going to say to that is that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, weaves this tapestry that's far more intricate than our human minds can ever comprehend, right? So it's essential to remember that every soul's journey is unique. The paths we walk, the movies that unfold are shaped by factors that are sometimes not something that we can see. So when you observe the suffering of somebody else, somebody that's homeless, somebody that has an early death, it might seem like the universe has abandoned those people. But those experiences are part of a much bigger movie, right? A much more profound journey of that soul. So every life, regardless of its outward appearances, has lessons, has opportunities for growth that are not always visible to us. Now, I truly believe that we live many lifetimes. I believe that at some point we were that homeless person. We were that person that died early. And that maybe things that have happened to us in our past lives are things that have paved the way for the life that we're living now. Right? So just consider that the universe operates on principles that we don't understand in this immediate lifetime. So challenges, hardships, suffering can be profound teachers, and they can really catalyze deep spiritual awakening and compassion and resilience and transformation. And that's for the people that are experiencing those hardships directly, and also for people who are witnessing them. Right? How many of you have become who you are today, maybe as a parent, because you are consciously responding to not being your parents? And that has actually propelled you to be the extraordinary parent that you are today. That's an example. So trusting the universe involves knowing that there are mysteries that we're not going to know. And knowing that we are all interconnected. So the suffering of one person is, in essence, a call to compassion and action in another person. And your role in your movie is to remain open, to keep having empathy and compassion for yourself, for other people, and to offer your gifts in service to that much bigger cosmic movie that we can't see. Right? So by trusting the universe, you're not avoiding that there's pain in the world. You're acknowledging that there's a larger plan at work that is beyond our limited perspective. Okay? So the universe is not this, entity that bestows gifts or punishments to certain people, right? It's an ever-present, ever-guiding force that keeps calling us to awaken to our highest selves and keeps showing us that we've got to trust the process and know that in every moment of our life, we are exactly where we need to be, learning exactly what we need to learn, and knowing that we are contributing not just to our individual movie, but to the whole bigger picture. Okay. So as long as you are willing to keep showing up and keep listening to those messages that the universe is delivering to you every day, keep stepping into who you're becoming, eventually you are going to look up and see that you are no longer the same person that you once were, and you are no longer living the life that you once were. So you are this version of you now, and there are other versions of you that are waiting to be unfolded, right? So allow those new versions to keep showing up. If you are someone that has resonated deeply with this episode and you'd like to understand how the Mastering Your Mind program and the tools and guidance of dethroning your inner critic can help you along your journey, and you'd like to connect with me just to discover what you could gain from this incredible wisdom along your movie that's unfolding, go to my website, dethrowningyourinnercritic.com, and let's schedule a time to connect, because I would love to learn about you. I'd love to learn about where you are along your movie. And I'd love to learn about what you see the next version of you is becoming and what's possible for you in your life. So thanks for tuning in today, everybody. Have a great day.